This is Jonathan Dawson coming at you live. I am in Schottenkirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Canton, Georgia. We spent an entire day of training with the team, and now we've got a little bit of downtime towards the end of the shift, and we've got some salespeople here. We're reviewing how to present numbers on a worksheet. Alan Aceman Dickey, the Canadian closer, has joined. Charlie James, good to see you as well. Please go ahead and, like usual, let me know where you're coming to me from. So tell me dealership name, city, state, something like that. Let me know who's in the house. Let me tell you what we're going to be talking about in this particular live stream, and specifically I'll be role-playing with several salespeople to show them how to use the Sellchology of presenting numbers. Shaka Dyson is in the house as well. Hey, brother. All right, so let me go ahead and do a quick introduction. We've got Cleveland here. Cleveland, how long have you been in the business?
23 years.
Only 23 years. He's a rookie. And then over here, we've got Zach, Mr. Champion himself. His last name is actually Champion. What a great name for the car business. Zach, how long you been in the business?
2 weeks.
2 solid weeks. And then we got Russ here. How long you been in the business, Russ?
About a month.
A month. So we've got one of our veteran salespeople, 23 years, and then we got a couple of newbies in the house. So here's what we're going to be doing. I have a worksheet. I know it will be backwards. I'm sorry, but it's just the reality of working with this technology. But I've got a worksheet here. Let me just kind of give you the summary of the sheet so you know what we're talking about. We have a scenario where a customer is currently driving a 2016 Ford Fusion with a $20,000 payoff left, 11,000 rounds on that machine, wanting to buy a 2017 Dodge Charger, a really nice vehicle, brand new. And so our situation is that we're going to present numbers. I'm going to go over the actual presentation. I'll tell you how I set the expectations up front, and then I'll actually demonstrate the presentation with Russ, and then I'll answer questions along the way as well, so you guys can understand kind of why the language that I'm using, why the approach, and why kind of what's the psychology behind it all, okay? So let me start first by managing the expectations of the client. Couple things that I always want to do when setting up a car deal to make sure that I've got the right presentation of the numbers. First and foremost is we always use the customer's current situation, or in this case, their current vehicle, as the frame of reference for any future vehicle payments and so forth. Now, this is some information that even these guys haven't been trained on really yet for some of them, so this is a little new to them, might be a little new to you, but just kind of hang with me. I'm going to set the stage, and then you're going to see how I present the numbers live. So bear with me. Let me set the stage first. All right, so gentlemen, the first thing you always want to keep in mind is whatever the customer's current frame of reference is the important thing for you to have established before you ever show them another vehicle, or in this case, new payments. So part of the way that you do that is by asking the customer some of these kinds of questions while you're talking to your client. I'll say something like, Zach, let me ask you a question. On the vehicle you're driving now, what sort of payment are you making on it right now? And Zach might say,
$450 a month.
$450 a month. And I'm going to say, Zach, that's a wonderful payment. Do you mind if I ask you, on the payment of $450, do you recall what the structure of that was? How did you get it that low? Because the national average payment is actually more like $511. So how did you get it that low?
We stretched it out over 72 months, and I put a couple thousand down.
And that was comfortable for you at that time?
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. So all I'm doing right now is establishing what is the current frame of reference the client has. That's the first important thing. I now know I'm working with a $450 current frame of reference, and I know approximate term and some money down that was applied. Here's the next thing I need to know, though. I'm going to say, and you said you did that over a longer term. On that loan, how long have you had the car then?
Only for about a year.
Only for about a year. Now, this is very important. Please understand, in this scenario here, this is an actual real worksheet, but in this scenario here, the customers only had the vehicle for a year. What I need to understand, this is the psychology part, is I need to understand their motivation of why, after just a year, are they looking to replace this vehicle. Because this is going to tell me whether it's pleasure, pain, situation of their life has changed. I need to know what's going on behind the scenes, because it's going to help me understand how to help them make a future decision. So I'm going to frame it something like this. I'm going to say, Zach, my experience has been that when somebody buys a car just a year ago and is replacing it, something's triggering that. Either the car just never really made sense, but you settled, or the car doesn't make sense anymore because of a situational change or life change, or you just kind of came into a windfall and you want to do something really fun and different. What's caused you to come into the market in just a year after buying this last car?
To be honest with you, I really don't like the Ford Fusion.
Okay.
And I kind of just wanted a bigger, nicer, newer car that I really like, and I love the Charger.
Now, were you feeling that way from the very first day that you bought the Fusion, or did it kind of come around eventually? You came to a point where you're like, you know, why did I buy this? Is it from the day one, or something recent?
No, from day one. I never really loved it.
Okay, so why is this important? And I want to share this with you. This is really important. When a customer tells me the car doesn't work for me, I need to understand, is that something that they've been enduring or suffering through for a year? Is that something that just came about? Maybe there's something changed in their lifestyle recently where that's no longer making sense for them. I need to understand a little bit of how long they've been in pain, so to speak, because this will give me a leverage to understand how I can help them justify why they should make the change and pay the price to make the change. Now, this next part that I do is going to seem a little bit in your face, right? A little bit of that. But what I need you to know is that this is done on purpose, and the average customer is going to respond really well to this. And I'm going to say something like this next. I'm going to say, you know, Zach, let me ask you this. When you bought the car, you bought it here. A year later, you go to trade it, right? It ain't worth what it is. You're going to have, in most cases, some significant negative equity. In order to deal with that, every customer who's ever tried to trade out even less than 3 years of ownership, when you bought it here and in less than 3 years you're trading out of it, you know there's a lot of depreciation that happens in those first 3 years. So there's a price to pay, so to speak, for trading out of it. Usually your payment goes up even significantly. That being said, you knew that and you still came here. So what would you say is the main motivation? Why are you here even though you know your payment's probably going to go up significantly and you know your vehicle's not going to be worth what you bought it for a year ago?
I did know that, and it comes down to I want the Charger.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so like I said, my approach, and that's pretty much the way I explain it, is I say, hey, listen, when you buy a car brand new, you know this. When you buy a car here, you buy it here, and then you know, when you trade it in, it's just not pretty, especially within less than 3 years. You know, you're not building any real equity momentum in the first 3 years. So a lot of times it costs, you know, quite a bit of money to trade out of a car that early. But I see people doing it all the time. Everyone has their reasons. What would be your reasons for paying the price to get out of the car early? I need the customer, once again, to recognize the elephant in the room here is that your payment's going to go up. The elephant in the room is that you're not going to get what your car you paid for it just a year ago. It's just not going to happen. I need the customer to understand that. I need them to mentally accept that. And I need to tell them that before I ever get numbers, right? So this conversation I'm having with the client, this is happening probably even out on the lot. This is part of the initial conversation. I'm gauging, if you will, how prepared they are mentally for what's about to happen when we do present numbers in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So I just need you to know, I don't mind talking about the awkward elephant in the room. I don't mind bringing it up. I do so without being condescending. I do so without being an attitude. I'm not trying to blow the guy out of the lot. I want to give everybody a chance to do business, but I just want to make sure the customer and I are on the same page. So that conversation would have happened. I would have established that. Now watch this. This is the next important thing. Remember, we just discovered that the customer is paying $450 a month now. Here's the next question I ask and how I adjust perspective. Watch this. This is very important.